Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Leadership Insight, where today it is part 2 of Listen to Lead, the power of transformational listening. And I want to definitely thank you for joining us again. In our previous session, we explored the concept of listening with presence, where we learn the importance of being fully engaged in conversations to be able to foster trust and enhance team dynamics. And so I want to again say, welcome, everyone. Welcome back. If you missed last week, please go back and watch that segment. And today it's going to be part 2. But before I jump into that, listen, you all, whether you're catching us live, whether you are catching us on a replay, please do not forget again to like and subscribe from whatever platform you are viewing us from. If you ever have a question, feel free to drop it in the comments. If you are like, Sparkle Joy Coach Miranda, you haven't done a segment on this, or I'm curious about that. If it is in the realm of what we do here at MDW Solutions, we will get that out for you when we can. Thank you again for joining us. And back to today. Listen, I talked about our last session where we talked about making sure that we are listening with presence, and you need to do that. All 3 parts of our 3-part series is going to be needed. Go back, check part 1 out. Today is part 2, and part 2 is listening beyond words. And listening beyond words means paying attention to the entirety of a person's message, which often extends beyond just mere spoken words. This involves tuning into nonverbal cues such as your facial expressions, posture, gestures, and the tone of voice. Understanding that a significant portion of communication happens to be nonverbal, and that allows us to be able to glean insights into emotions and the intentions of the speaker, offering a richer comprehension of their message. Now, when we're talking about listening beyond just words, we are really diving into checking out everything around us. When leaders and team members, when you all listen beyond just what is being said, you're able to make the workplace such a caring environment. Now, this practice can help people understand each other. It also helps to avoid misunderstandings. For example, if we can tell that a coworker is maybe angry by the tone of their voice, we might at that point be able to ask them what's happening versus making assumptions. Because how many of you, maybe something was said, you're in this conversation, something was said, then you see someone looking angry. You're assuming that they are angry at something you said, but it could be something totally different. And so this is a segment where I am going to challenge you to always drop the assumptions and ask more questions. We might just ask them to explain instead, again, instead of making an assumption. By paying attention to those little small signs, we can make sure that everyone feels respected and understood, which will lead to better teamwork, higher morale, and more work getting done. It's so important. Please take a step back and ask the question. Don't assume. And when's the last time someone made an assumption about you? How did that make you feel? What if you were the one that maybe had a scowl on your face because you were thinking about something that happened maybe 2 weeks ago or last night, and someone else assumed you were just angry at them for some unknown reason? Don't make assumptions, you all. Ask more questions. All right, I'm going to give you another example. A company had their launch date, And they decided to do, once the launch date came and went, they had a feedback session that was being led by a project manager. Several team members said they were happy, but the project manager saw that there was just one person that kept that closed body language. And for my podcasters out there, I have my arms crossed and I'm giving that body language that shows I'm closed. Now, I do know people can cross their arms because they're cold. People cross their arms for many, many reasons. In this particular scenario, they crossed their arms because this particular project manager felt that they were crossing it to be more closed off. And the project manager did the right thing by not taking the direct feedback at face value. Okay. Instead, they asked that particular team member what they thought and how they saw things. This gave that particular employee the courage to talk about deep seated concerns they had about how the campaign was run, and they hadn't felt safe expressing it at first. And when the project manager acknowledged and dealt with the silent feelings, they not only began to build trust, but they received useful feedback that helped the project better down the line. That's why we have to go beyond just listening beyond the words. Let's go ahead and wrap this segment up. Listening beyond words is a must. It is something that you and I must practice. Something that I said last week, and I will say it today. This is something that you must practice. You will not just be able to instantaneously pick up this skill. You have to practice this skill. You are training yourself to listen beyond words. And in order to train yourself to listen beyond words, you must practice this. Practice this at work. Practice this at home. Practice this with strangers. The key, you must practice this. And when you're practicing it, the effects that it is going to have on your team, on those around you, are going to be profound. When someone knows that you actually care by going a step deeper, you gain trust. And isn't that part of what this is about? We want those around us to know that we will put down our phones for them, that we will lean in, that we will look at the body language and not assume, but we will ask questions. When I said this, this is what I saw. Tell me, how are you feeling? I would love your feedback. How do you think it went? It is important that we go beyond just mere words. I always end with a quote, and for this three-part series, our quote is, when people talk, listen completely. Most people never listen. Do not let that be you. Be a person that listens. And this quote really talks about the importance of engaging in listening, which is a key element to transformational listening. Join me next week for our third part of this series. You deserve nothing but the best. It's my goal to ensure that you move to your next level. Let's take your career to new heights together.